Hi, this is Jason Major from the Biblical Cinematic Universe, and today we're reviewing Last Days in the Desert, directed by Rodrigo Garcia, and starring Ewan McGregor, not as Obi-Wan Kenobi, but as Jesus, as well as the demon, aka Lucifer, who takes on this appearance of Jesus when he talks to him in the desert. Ty Sheridan played Cyclops and some of the X-Men movies, not the first one, the three, but the later ones. Kieran Hins was the voice of Steppenwolf in the Justice League movies. And Aliet Zur is someone whom the name, probably you don't know that name, but, or is it pronounced Alet Zur? She was Superman's mother in Man of Steel, so she had a really mothering instinct in that movie. Then she was Vanessa Fisk in the Daredevil Netflix series and the Disney Plus Daredevil Born Again. And then she also has been in House of David, in the new 2025 House of David show as the Queen. And then in this, she is the mother. So this is an excellent film. No, just right off the bat, I'm telling you, it's an 8 out of 10. It is not necessarily a biblical film. It's meant to be more of a spiritual meditation. So I don't know the exact faith of the director, but he definitely, Ewan McGregor did talk like Jesus is the divine Son of God in this movie, and definitely from the director's point of view, he is the Son of God as well. And not just a Son of God. That's explicitly even mentioned in the movie, because Lucifer says to Jesus, "Oh, you think you're the only Son of God? He has many children." And Jesus says, "No, I am the only one." They very much affirmed that. Now, the story is, from the Gospels, is that 40-day window when he's out fasting and praying in the wilderness. However, the exact three temptations that are outlined in Scripture are not in this movie. It's more a character piece, and like I said, it's a spiritual meditation. In Jewish culture, there's a thing called midrash, which is like an invented story, and that's what this is. It's an invented story, but it's not an invented story like to bash Jesus or throw out of the window all the theology we know about Jesus, but more to kind of like show reflection of like what Jesus might have been going through in his thought processes in those 40 days in the wilderness. So from a biblical standpoint, this is about Jesus praying and fasting in the wilderness, although it is California in this movie, actually. And it's just like barren wasteland, you know what I mean? And the cinematography in this is like Oscar-worthy. It is so beautiful to behold. I also love the music of this movie. It is very spiritual and very meditative. It's very like quiet and meditative. It's really excellent. Now, this movie only has like a handful of characters. Like I said, like Jesus, the Son, the Father, the Mother, and a small cameo appearance by a couple other people. But literally, it starts in the wilderness, it ends in the wilderness, and it's just the story is Jesus. He's been praying in the wilderness. He hasn't yet understood like or fulfilled what he wanted to get in the wilderness, which is trying to understand what his mission is, right? And so he ends up meeting this father. They actually don't even have names. It's just the father, son, and mother. And the father is someone who's lived in the wilderness all his life, and his father lived in the wilderness all his life. And then his son wants to go to Jerusalem. That's what it is about. And the mother is sick, and she's and so this father wants to build this house in the wilderness. So Jesus is kind of intersected with this family and dialoguing with his family, at the same time dialoguing with the devil, who is talking to him as well. And there's also some dream sequences that not based on biblical dreams or anything. It's more just like what dreams that you and I might have about like running from animals because we're scared of animals, or we're flying or something like that. So it's really trying to get into that interior life of Jesus. Jesus is portrayed very human in this, obviously, but he, like I said, like he does declare himself he knows that he knows intellectually, he knows that he is the Son of God, that he's not just the son of Joseph or anything like that. So the movie's not saying that. But basically, this movie goes on with these kind of interesting dialogues and stories of what, as Jesus is trying to figure out how to help out this family. And so, what the father, son, and mother storyline is doing is basically is giving us a way to understand the relationship between God the Father and his Son through this father and son. And so in that sense, it's very meditative and very interesting in some of the parallels in the storyline that go on. I don't want to necessarily spoil some of the scenes in the movie, but there's this idea of like, there's this father and the son, and Jesus himself is like trying to figure out, who am I? What is my mission? How can I help bring, what am I supposed to do in terms of everything? And not just the cross as well. I will say, this is a mild spoiler, that this movie is also not saying that like the cross is non-existent or something like that. The cross is in this movie, which is very interesting. And I thought that was really interesting as well. The way the movie ends is really interesting as well, without spoiling it. So, I would say that this movie's an 8 out of 10. It is definitely not for people who are going to be like all uptight about the fact that it's a kind of more of a meditation as opposed to like telling you everything that's in the Gospels. This is more of a meditation, but it is a beautiful film, and I highly recommend watching it if as something as very artistic, very wonderful, and I think that where I'm struggling to find the words is to tell you about this film without telling you scenes in the film, because I want you to enjoy the story as it goes. But I would think I would leave you on this end note that if you're asking my personal thought, and this is my personal thought, it doesn't mean anything compared to anyone else, I think that the intention of the film is a spiritual reflection on what Jesus is going through, his divinity and his humanity, and that as a Christian, this is an interesting film to watch and to think about. What was it like for Jesus in those 40 days in the wilderness, but also what did those 40 days in the wilderness say about our identity as a son or a daughter, and who we are in the Father's eyes. Thank you for watching. Until next time, build a cinematic universe. Bye.